The courtroom door felt like it was made of stone. I hesitated before pushing it open, palms sweaty against the metal handle. I walked in wearing the only decent suit I owned, charcoal gray, threadbare at the cuffs, the same one I'd bought 3 years ago in case I ever landed a real job. There they were. Front row. My mother, polished to perfection in pearls and tailored silk. My father, stiff-backed and unreadable behind rimless glasses. My brother, designer shoes, smug smirk, sitting like this was just another board meeting he was born to win. Mom spotted me first. She tilted her head, leaned toward Dad, and whispered something behind her glossy smile. He didn't bother to hide it, he actually rolled his eyes. Like I was an errand, a task, a tiny inconvenience they couldn't wait to check off their list. I swallowed hard. Their attorney was already at the plaintiff's table. Perfect suit. Polished briefcase. He flipped through his notes like he already knew how the story would end. Like this was just a formality. The judge hadn't entered yet. I walked to my side, defendant's table. Funny how that word hit different when it was your own name on the docket. I unclipped my briefcase, pulled out 3 organized folders, each tabbed in color, blue, red, green. My hands didn't shake. Not yet. They had no idea what I'd brought with me. No idea what was inside those folders. And absolutely no idea who I had become. Before we go deeper into this battle, pause for a second. I want to know something. Have you ever been underestimated? By the people who were supposed to love you? Drop your location in the comments and what time it is where you are. Hit like if you've ever had to prove your worth to your own family. And don't forget to subscribe, because this story? Oh, it's about to take you somewhere you didn't expect. The bailiff stood suddenly. All rise. The judge entered. Her robe swished softly as she approached the bench. My heart thundered. And I was ready. But to understand how we got to this room, to this war, you need to know how the wounds were made. Because they didn't start today. They started a long time ago. Ever grown up in someone else's shadow? In next you'll meet the real golden child, and learn how being the invisible sibling shaped everything that followed. Don't miss it. I was never their favorite. I wasn't even close. That title had always belonged to my brother, Ryan. From the moment he learned to smirk and charm a room, it was like the sun rose and set on his schedule. He got straight teeth thanks to Invisalign at 12. A BMW at 16. College tuition? Handled. Graduation trip to Europe? Already booked before he tossed his cap in the air. Me? I was the one who asked permission before opening the fridge. The one who learned to fold clothes perfectly, just so Mom wouldn't sigh when she walked past my room. I worked midnight shifts at a 24-hour grocery store to afford my textbooks. Lived in a basement so cold in winter I had to sleep in socks and a hoodie. But I never complained. Not out loud, anyway. I knew early on I was Plan B in a family that only celebrated Plan A. Except for Grandpa. He was the only one who saw me. The only one who really looked. He showed up to my community college graduation with a bouquet of wildflowers he probably grabbed from the side of the road. Everyone else had some excuse that day, car trouble, flu, work meeting. But Grandpa? He clapped louder than anyone when they mispronounced my name. He was the one who took me to lunch every other Sunday, rain or shine. He asked about my courses like they were stock reports. When I told him I wanted to transfer to a state university, he didn't blink. You'll get there, he said. You always do. You know what he once told me? Ryan's got the charm, he said, sipping black coffee from a chipped mug. But you? You've got the grit. And grit. Grit doesn't fade. It builds. It stays. I blinked back tears in that diner, nodding, but I didn't know how much I'd hold on to those words later. I didn't know they'd become armor. He taught me something else too, simple, quiet advice I never took seriously until now. Keep everything, he'd say. Every letter, every receipt, every email. If you can't afford a lawyer, make sure you have evidence. At the time, I thought he was just being old. Now I know better. He wasn't just giving me advice, he was handing me a weapon for a war I didn't know I'd fight. When he passed, it was sudden. Quiet. Like him. We gathered in the lawyer's office to hear the will. I sat in the back, heart pounding, wondering if I'd even be mentioned. Ryan got the house. The family home with the pool and the giant oak tree. My parents got the investment accounts. And me? I got something called the Education Legacy Fund. I remember trying not to look confused. It didn't sound like much. Maybe a few thousand for student loans? Then the lawyer cleared his throat. It was seeded 20 years ago, he said. Left untouched, compounded annually. The value as of last quarter, $1.2 million. The room went still. Mom's hands clenched her purse so tight her knuckles turned white. Dad leaned forward like he hadn't heard right. Ryan just stared. That moment was when everything changed. 2 weeks later, I got the call. Come by Saturday, Mom said. We want to talk, just as a family. I should have known. I should have run. Rehook for Part 3, a mysterious man in a gray suit. A contract I was never meant to read. The trap is set, and they expect me to walk straight into it. Stay tuned. The moment I stepped into my parents' house that Saturday, I felt it. The air wasn't warm. No scent of baking or candles or even that faint smell of the citrus floor cleaner Mom loved. It was sterile. Cold. Too quiet. They were all waiting in the living room, like some weird intervention scene from a bad movie. Mom was perched on the edge of the couch, fingers folded just right, too perfect smile on her face. Dad stood behind her, arms crossed. And Ryan sat off to the side, checking his phone like he was just so bored to be there. And then there was him. A stranger in a tailored gray suit. Polished shoes. Briefcase. I'd never seen him before. Mom's smile widened. Sweetheart, she said with a tone too sweet to be real, this is Mr. Hawthorne. He's been advising us. My stomach dropped. I sat down slowly, eyeing the leather folder on the coffee table like it might explode. Mr. Hawthorne opened it and slid a document toward me. It's a family stewardship agreement, he said, smooth as silk. Meant to preserve harmony and ensure responsible management of your grandfather's legacy. I flipped the first page, eyes scanning fast. I was supposed to transfer my share, into something called a central family account, managed by Mom and Dad. In return, they'd give me a monthly allowance. $2,000. From my own money. You've never really been great with finances, Mom said gently, almost pitying. And you're still young, impulsive. This is for your protection. I blinked at her. Laughed, softly. Awkwardly. Dad's voice cut through. This isn't a negotiation. Ryan finally looked up, leaned forward. Don't be dramatic. This is about keeping Grandpa's wishes alive. As a family. I stared at the document. So neat. So clean. So condescending. And if I say no? I asked. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Dad's jaw tightened. Then we'll take necessary steps. Mr. Hawthorne adjusted his cuffs. We'd have no choice but to pursue a conservatorship. Through probate court. The process can be messy. Public. And frankly, quite damaging to your reputation. He let the word hang in the air. Damaging. I stared at them, all three. The same people who used to send me Christmas cards with glitter and hearts. Who once clapped when I made honor roll. Now staring at me like I was the problem. I picked up the document. Neatly folded it. I've made my decision, I said. And I walked out. I had 72 hours before they made good on their threat. And I wasn't about to waste a single second. What would you do if your own family tried to declare you incompetent? The gloves come off, and the betrayal gets legal. You won't believe how far they go next. Stay with me. 3 days. That's all the time they gave me. Exactly 72 hours after I left their house, someone knocked on my apartment door. I opened it in sweatpants and a messy bun, still hoping, stupidly, that this was all just a bluff. It wasn't. A man in a windbreaker and badge handed me a thick envelope. "Are you, full name?" he asked, already knowing. I nodded, heart pounding. "You've been served." My hands trembled as I closed the door. I ripped the envelope open, sinking onto the floor as I scanned the first page. They'd done it. They were petitioning the court to declare me financially unfit, to take control of my inheritance through a formal conservatorship. All under the mask of a protection and a concern. 14 pages of brutal lies. Claims that I had poor judgment. Reckless spending habits. That I wasn't capable of managing complex financial matters. They painted me as unstable. Untrustworthy. Unfit. And at the bottom? Signed. Notarized. Filed. My own parents. My brother. I couldn't even cry. Not right away. It was too surreal. Like I'd stepped into a version of my life that was upside down and hollow. Later that same afternoon, my phone rang. It was my boss. "Can you come in?" she asked. "We need to have a conversation." I knew what was coming. I sat in her office, quiet, awkward, and she slid a printout across the desk. A public court record. My name. The petition. In black and white. "Is there something going on we should know about?" she asked, carefully. "It's a family thing," I stammered. "It's not true. It's not what it looks like." She looked uncomfortable, the way people do when they're trying to be kind but need you gone. "We're going to place you on temporary administrative leave," she said softly. "Until this is resolved. It's policy." I nodded. Stood. Walked out of the office in a fog. My world was unraveling one polite conversation at a time. That night, my best friend called. She'd heard, somehow. Maybe from social media. Maybe from Ryan's carefully curated circle of mutuals. She tried to be supportive, but her voice cracked halfway through the call. "Why not just give them half?" she asked. "You'd still have $600,000. That's more than most people see in a lifetime. Is this really worth all the drama?" I didn't answer. Because part of me was starting to wonder the same thing. Was I being stubborn? Was I being stupid? Was it really worth it to fight everyone I ever knew for a future I hadn't even stepped into yet? I stared at the ceiling. The plaster had a tiny crack running down the middle. Just like my life. And then I remembered something. Something I hadn't thought about in years. A binder. Grandpa's binder. He gave it to me 5 years ago, told me to keep it safe. Said it had important stuff. I'd shoved it into a file drawer and forgotten about it. I found it under a stack of old tax forms. Wiped the dust off. Opened it. And there, on page 12, everything changed. A single sentence buried in an old binder flips the entire story on its head. Grandpa's secret weapon is revealed, and it might be the one thing that saves me. "You're not ready for this." I cracked open the binder slowly, like it was whispering before I even read it. The first few pages were old statements, school certificates, Sunday lunch receipts, tax summaries, everything neat, patient, loved. Then I turned to page 12. My breath caught in my throat. Not the dramatic gasp you fake, the real one. The kind that steals your air. My fingers brushed over his handwriting, blue ink. Always blue. Always precise. And there it was. One paragraph tucked into the trust rules addendum, a beneficiary forfeiture clause. I read it once. Then again. Then a third time because There had to be some trick, right? Nope. No trick. Just an old man who planned like a chess grandmaster and loved like a vault. The clause said that if any beneficiary ever tried to file legal action to strip another beneficiary of their rightful share, they would instantly lose everything they were entitled to. No warnings. No second chances. Just boom.
Bye.
Gone. Keep this safe, kiddo, his voice echoed in my head. Trust is fine. Proof is better. I slammed the binder shut and then opened it again, smiling and weeping at the exact same time.
Yeah.
That kind of moment. The emotional cocktail that tastes like justice and heartbreak mixed with espresso. I called Jake. The baby lawyer from my college study group, fresh bar pass, zero ego, maximum heart. He showed up in 15 minutes, hair messy, tie crooked, holding a donut like a peace offering. Aw, bless him. He read the page. Looked up at me. Read it again. That lawyer's stare kicked in. This is enforceable, he said quietly. They didn't just underestimate you, they declared war on the only person holding the trigger. I laughed. The sharp, humorless kind. The kind that says I'm not okay, and I don't care who knows. This means if they proceed, Jake continued, swallowing hard, they lose the house. The investments. The sentimental stuff. The bragging rights. Everything. We sat in silence after that. The kind where you hear your own pulse. And then I whispered, they already proceeded. Jake's eyes widened like I just dropped a piano on the sentence.
Oh.
No. They can't retract this rocket launcher now. We drafted a warning letter anyway. Professional. Controlled. Slightly terrifying if you read between the lines, certified mail, highlighted clause, 48-hour ultimatum to withdraw their motion before devastation kicked in. I sealed the envelope at 5 a.m. We were both tired, wired, sad, angry, just enough unhinged that it felt like calm. You ever experienced that? The peace before chaos?
Yeah.
They didn't withdraw. Not then. Not ever. Instead, they amended their legal filing. They decided to step even closer to the edge. Like moths with mortgages. Like sharks in silk pajamas. And me? I was done hoping for mercy. Because mercy is for accidents, not strategy. In next. Evidence meets fraud, desperation meets consequence, and the biggest reveal of all finally walks into the courtroom. Don't scroll away. This next part? It hits different. They didn't back down. They doubled down. 2 days after they got the letter, the one with Grandpa's clause, highlighted in sunshine yellow like a warning flare, they filed an amended petition. I didn't think I could be more shocked. I was wrong. They were accusing me of undue influence. Said Grandpa wasn't in his right mind when he structured the trust. Claimed I'd manipulated him, emotionally preyed on a vulnerable old man to steal money I didn't deserve. My own mother signed that claim. My father supported it. And my brother? He posted a filtered family photo on Instagram, Grandpa smiling at some Christmas dinner from a decade ago, with a caption that made my blood run cold. Protecting his legacy from selfish hands. Family always comes first. Cue the flood of comments. Cousins, friends from high school, old neighbors. She always seemed weird. Money changes people. Praying for your family, folded hands, medium light skin tone. Every word stabbed. Not because I believed it. But because they did. They believed them. My phone became poison. I couldn't even open an app without seeing my name dragged through curated mud. And then. HR called again. We're extending your leave, they said. Until the matter is fully resolved. I asked how long that might be. They said, indefinitely. I hung up without speaking. I sat in my kitchen at 2:17 in the morning, staring at a cold mug of tea I'd reheated 3 times. And then I remembered something Grandpa said once, during one of our Sunday lunches. I was ranting about someone who lied on their resume and still got promoted. He just smiled, soft, sad, wise. Liars always forget one thing, he said. Receipts. So I opened the binder again. I pulled out the trust amendment my family had submitted to the court, the one claiming Grandpa had a sudden change of heart in 2019 and wanted unified family asset control. Then I pulled out my original. And my heart stopped. The dates didn't match. The notary seals didn't match. The font was slightly different, like someone had used a template and guessed what old people use. I laid them side by side. Grandpa's version? Real. Theirs? It reeked. The fake amendment claimed to be signed in March 2019. But the paper stock,
Yeah.
I checked, was manufactured in 2022. I called the notary whose name was listed on my original. Found his info buried in Grandpa's personal files. He picked up on the third ring. Retired now, he said cheerfully. Living out in Arizona. I keep copies of every document I ever notarized. Habit. I gave him the number printed on their fake amendment. He went quiet for a second. Then, softly, I never notarized that. That's not my seal. He sent me a sworn affidavit an hour later. I cried when I got it. Not because I was happy. Because I was tired. Because they'd gone that far. And because Grandpa had prepared me for it all. I spent $300 hiring a forensic document expert. Rush order. 4 days later, I held the report in my hands. The signature on the forged amendment? Digitally traced. The ink? Inconsistent. The notary stamp? Completely fake. And suddenly, this wasn't a family fight. This was fraud. Straight up, state-level fraud. They didn't just try to take my money. They tried to rewrite the truth. I finally learned why they were willing to burn everything down, and it's worse than I imagined. Secrets. Debt. And the moment I stopped seeing them as family and started seeing them as defendants. Don't miss what comes next. I sat in the dark with the forensic report in my lap and Grandpa's binder open beside me. I should have felt victorious. But all I felt was hollow. Because this wasn't just about money anymore. This was betrayal, stitched tight with paperwork and lies. And the people holding the needle? Were the same ones who used to tuck me in at night. I kept staring at the forged amendment, its clean font, fake seal, pretend smile. It was like a ghost version of the real thing. A version where love didn't exist. Where manipulation wore pearls and smiled through meetings. And I couldn't stop asking myself, why? Why risk everything? Why commit actual fraud just to take what was never theirs? I needed answers. So I started digging. Turns out, public records are more generous than people. The first thing I looked up was my brother's company. The startup my parents bragged about for years. The one they said would redefine digital engagement, or whatever corporate buzzword they'd memorized. It was dissolved. 6 months ago. I found the paperwork. Found a lawsuit, too, filed by unpaid vendors. Default judgment, $340,000. I stared at the number until it blurred. Then I looked up my parents' house. The family home. Foreclosure notice. Public record. $485,000 owed. Final notice posted. 90 days before the bank stepped in and claimed it. I kept going. Dad once mentioned his retirement fund at some dinner years ago. It was partially invested in a public index. I tracked it. Checked the holdings. Gone. Liquidated after a margin call. Then I found Mom's LinkedIn. She'd been liking posts about debt relief, late-life financial planning, starting over after 60. My breath hitched. I did the math. Ryan's company failure, $340,000. The mortgage crisis, $485,000. Total, $825,000. Their combined share of Grandpa's trust? About $670,000. Still not enough. But my share? $1.2 million. They weren't trying to hurt me. They were trying to save themselves. They weren't evil masterminds. They were drowning. And they thought pulling me under would buy them one more breath. I sat back in my chair, eyes burning, fingers pressed against my lips. I didn't know whether to scream or cry or laugh. Because I finally understood. This wasn't about family. It was about survival. And I was just the cleanest thing they could afford to break. What do you do when your family chooses desperation over decency? Next. I stop playing defense and go on the legal attack. It's time for consequences. Real ones. See you in court. Grief feels like fog. But anger? Anger is lightning. And that night, something inside me shifted. The girl who used to hope for apologies? She was gone. The woman who stood up from that chair? She had a plan. I didn't just want to defend myself anymore. I wanted this over. No loopholes. No settlements. No room for them to twist the truth again. I pulled out my laptop and opened a blank legal document. The cursor blinked. Taunting me. Daring me. So I started typing. Counterpetition. Breach of fiduciary duty. Forgery. Fraud. And enforcement of the forfeiture clause under Grandpa's Section 7. I knew that clause like scripture now. Highlighted. Memorized. Tattooed on my bones. But I didn't stop there. I filed a motion to freeze all trust distributions until the hearing. No more monthly transfers to my parents. No more utilities paid from Grandpa's name. No more, we'll fix this after court. I was done giving them time. I checked every statute. Cross-referenced every page number. Triple-checked every exhibit. Because I knew they'd look for cracks. I didn't give them any. At 11:43 p.m., I submitted it electronically. My screen lit up. Filing confirmed. Attorney of record, my name, ESQ.
Yeah.
I passed the bar 6 months ago. Even worked part-time through night school for 4 straight years while stocking shelves and paying rent with ramen and overtime. Didn't tell anyone. Not my family. Not even my closest friends. I didn't need the congratulations. I just needed to be ready. And now. Now it mattered. I walked to the bookshelf, pulled out my unopened bar admission certificate, slid it into a frame I'd bought on clearance. Hung it on the wall. Straightened it twice. I could almost hear Grandpa's voice, "Look at you now, kiddo." Quiet fire. That's the good kind. The night before the hearing, I didn't sleep. Didn't need to. I laid out everything, evidence folders, notes, exhibits. I rehearsed arguments in the mirror until my voice cracked. Imagined every question the judge might ask. Practiced calm when I wanted to yell. At 4:57 a.m., I was fully dressed. Hair back. Makeup sharp. Confidence like steel under my skin. And when I walked into that courthouse again, the door still felt heavy. But this time, I didn't flinch. The courtroom looked the same. Same cold lights. Same faded carpet that smelled like old files and older arguments. But this time, I was different. I walked in straight-backed, heels quiet but firm. My briefcase didn't shake in my hand. My voice didn't hide behind politeness. I wasn't here to explain. I was here to end it. They were already seated, Mom, Dad, Ryan, and Richard, their attorney. Still in their designer armor. Still looking like they owned the story. Mom saw me and leaned toward Dad again. The whisper. The glance. The flicker of superiority. Ryan gave me the same smug little smirk he always wore when he got away with something. I didn't react. Just opened my case and laid out 3 color-coded folders, tabs gleaming like weapons. Blue. Red. Green. The bailiff stood. All rise. The judge entered, a woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and zero tolerance for nonsense. Her presence demanded honesty. Her stare cut through posturing like scissors through ribbon. She sat, adjusted her glasses. This is a petition for conservatorship filed by Linda and Robert against their daughter, she began. I also see a counter-petition. Miss, are you represented by counsel or are you appearing pro se? I stood. Calm. Clear. Your Honor, I'm counsel of record. I passed the bar this January. The courtroom froze. You could hear someone's breath catch. Richard's face lost all color. Like someone had pulled the rug, the walls, and the floor out from under him. Mom blinked like her contact lenses betrayed her. Dad's jaw clenched. Ryan finally stopped smirking. The judge tilted her head. Proceed. I opened the blue folder first. Your Honor, I'd like to present 3 exhibits today. Starting with the original trust document, Section 7, specifically subsection D, the forfeiture clause. I handed a copy to the clerk. She passed it up to the bench. The judge read it slowly. Her brow furrowed. This clause clearly states that any beneficiary who initiates legal proceedings to strip another beneficiary of their share forfeits their own claim entirely. The judge looked up at Richard. Counselor, were you aware of this provision? He stammered. Your Honor, we were focused on other areas of the trust. The family had concerns. She cut him off. Were you aware? A pause. Then, finally, he nodded, barely. Recently, yes. I opened the red folder. Second exhibit, the amendment submitted by the petitioners, claiming my grandfather intended for unified family asset management. I placed it on the overhead projector. The fake shimmered under the courtroom lights. Then I opened the green folder. Third exhibit, a notarized affidavit from the original notary and a forensic document analysis. It proves the amendment was forged. I laid the evidence beside the projector, different notary seal, traced signature, paper manufactured 3 years after the supposed signing. The judge leaned forward. Took the report. Read. Her lips pressed into a flat, unreadable line. Then she looked at my parents. Do either of you have an explanation for this? Nothing. The silence was violent. Richard stood, grasping at straws. Your Honor, we'd like to request a continuance. Denied, she said before he could finish. Do your clients have any explanation? Again, silence. The judge set the report down gently, like it weighed 10 pounds. I'm dismissing the petition with prejudice, she said, voice cold. The forfeiture clause is valid and will be enforced. The petitioners will forfeit their shares, effective immediately. She turned to Richard. Your firm will also be sanctioned for filing fraudulent documents, $15,000. This matter is being referred to the district attorney for further review. The gavel slammed. I didn't move. Not at first. Then I packed my folders. Snapped the case shut. Walked out without looking back. My legs shook halfway down the hall, but I didn't stop. I was no longer defending myself. I had one. So what happens after the gavel drops? The consequences arrive. The house. The accounts. The legacy. But the best part? What Grandpa planned all along. You'll want to see this. 30 days later, the forfeiture clause was executed. Just like Grandpa wrote it. No ceremony. No negotiations. Just signatures, stamps, and silence. My parents lost the investment accounts. My brother lost the house. The assets were redistributed, not to me, not directly. Grandpa had written a secondary beneficiary clause just in case this exact situation happened. He really had thought of everything. The money went into a scholarship fund for first-generation college students in our county. Kids like me. Kids who studied with borrowed books under dim lights. Who worked late shifts. Who knew how to live on ramen and hope. 5 students received their first scholarships last spring. I got to hand them out. I shook every hand, looked into every set of tired eyes, and I knew. Grandpa didn't just leave me money. He left me purpose. As for the rest of it, my brother filed for bankruptcy 2 months after the ruling. He's managing a retail store now in the next town over. I heard from someone he stopped calling himself a founder on LinkedIn. My parents quietly sold their house before the bank could. They moved into a 2-bedroom apartment. No press release. No invites. Just boxes. The district attorney reviewed the fraud report. No charges filed. Too clean. Too subtle. Too sad. But the court ordered them to pay the legal sanctions. Richard's law firm? They quietly dropped them as clients. I took $400,000 from my remaining share and built the scholarship in Grandpa's name. The rest paid off my loans, bought me a modest condo, and helped me open my own small legal practice, specializing in estate disputes.
Yeah.
I help families now. Not to win fights, but to prevent them. Because sometimes love and legacy can't share the same table unless someone rewrites the seating chart. I set hard boundaries. Low contact. Emails only. No birthdays. No Christmases. No, drop by unannounced. 6 months after the hearing, Mom emailed me. I'm sorry things got so complicated. I hope you're doing okay. That was it. No truth. No responsibility. Just words. I replied. Thank you. I wish you the best. No anger. No fight left. Dad hasn't spoken to me. I don't think he ever will. And I've made peace with that. Some people never say sorry. Some people never see themselves clearly. And that's their burden to carry, not mine. My brother messaged me once. Asked if we could grab coffee. I stared at the screen for 10 minutes before I replied. Maybe one day. But not yet. Not until I'm ready. I look at Grandpa's picture every morning on my desk. The same photo Ryan posted that day, twisting the meaning. But when I see it now, I don't feel pain. I feel grounded. Safe. I see the man who believed in me when no one else did. Who taught me that love without respect is just control in disguise. Who left me everything, not because I was the smartest or most successful, but because I never expected it. And because I never gave up. He taught me to keep my records. To keep my voice. To keep my dignity. And I did. And because of that, I got my life back. Not out of revenge. Out of truth. Now I'll ask you the same thing I asked myself. If it were you, would you forgive them completely? Let it all go? Or would you keep the boundaries like I did? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every one. And if this story made you feel something, subscribe. There are more stories coming. And one last thing. Always keep your receipts.